Welcome, Phantom Fam, to today's episode. I'm Katie, and with me, just like every other episode, is my partner in true crime exploring and ghost investigating, Nat.
Woohoo!
Grab a snack, or maybe a hot drink, go through your nightly skincare routine, or settle into your drive to work. Whatever you do while you tune in. Because we're about to go wading into the void. What up, what up, what up?
Oh,
I'm back from vacation.
Willikers. I feel like it's been
a hot minute since we recorded.
It's been fucking forever since we've done anything.
But everyone, I'm well rested, and I'm here to live my bestest damn life. Now, I'm gonna let y'all know that this episode is gonna be... trying is a good word for it.
I'm scared.
It's a true crime case of one of America's, if not the world's, most prolific serial killers. I'm going to be covering Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer, and his 49 recognized victims. Because there may be more.
Huh?
There are mentions of heinous assault, rape, necrophilia, and of course, murder. So, there's your warning.
Ugh.
And if that doesn't sound like something you're interested in listening to, you may want to skip this episode and keep an eye out for another upcoming episode, because this, my friends, is going to be a two-parter.
Oh.
My first two-parter.
Oh, damn.
I want to take the time, to go into detail on Gary Ridgway's past, his motivations, and his crimes, but more importantly, I want to give his victims the respect they deserve, and that's gonna take more than one episode.
True. Okay.
Everyone's story has a right to be heard, and these women who had their light burn out by this asshole are no different. So I hope, to those of you who are deciding to stick around, that you're ready to get into it soon. But since the subject matter of this episode is going to be a little darker, I thought it might be a fun idea to maybe share a few exciting and positive things going on in our lives. I think it would be good.
Prepared?
No.
Okay.
I think it would be good for everyone listening to get to know us a little bit better, but I think it would be a good practice for us to get into. It's no surprise that we've talked about it before. Both Nat and I suffer from anxiety and modes of depression. And I think getting into the swing of focusing on the highlights of our lives could be good for us.
Oh, okay, so we're turning this into therapy.
No, so what's one exciting or positive thing that you've done in the last week? Besides that.
Oh no, I unplugged it. It's charging.
If that doesn't give it away.
I actually had a lot of fun editing the previous episode. So one positive thing from this week, it's Monday. So
From last week or over the weekend.
I went on a wonderful little picnic date with my friend Whit, who has not listened to the fucking podcast, but we went on a picnic date. We got Chili's.
Lovely.
And we went to the Bennington battlefield and sat at a picnic table and just talked for 3 hours.
Good. That's your spot.
Yeah, that is my spot.
It really is. But other than that, you also started putting the floor down in your living room.
Very true.
That's exciting.
I made some huge progress in my house, which just putting down flooring in half of a room for most people is probably whatever. But it completely changed the atmosphere of the room. It actually
really
feels like a living room now.
It looked really, really good.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see it all finished.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
But as far as, I'm concerned, A positive thing is that I've started reading again, but I still have hopes that I'm gonna crush my damn reading goal this year, which I think is 36 books. I think I'm at 17.
You know what?
So,
Katie, you would be proud. I picked up a book. I didn't read it, but I picked it up and was going to read it. I opened
it's small progress.
I read the acknowledgement and I read the like other little note in the beginning, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be a good book." And then I read the first sentence, and I was like, "I'm tired. What's on Instagram?"
Fair enough. I mean, a reading slump is a reading slump.
Yeah.
And that's how I was for the past, like, 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
I hadn't picked up a book, so I get it. But my positive is that I'm going to be taking some time, you know, to focus more on my Bookstagram page and blog. So, at the moment, my Instagram, I've only been sharing, like, you know, bookish content. But I'm going to start sharing some more general lifestyle-y content, and I'm really excited about that. I'm thinking maybe some DIY stuff. I just shared my DIY I did with my bathroom with Natalie yesterday, and I'm really proud of it. You know, of course, bookish content, because I can't not. And, you know, maybe some, like, bloggy lifestyle stuff with, like, some homey, just good feeling content in there too. So if that sounds like something you'd be, you know, interested in checking out, go ahead and give me a follow at _page_snob. I'm nice, I promise.
Yeah, go follow her. If you need something wholesome, not wholesome. If you need something wholesome to, like, look at on Instagram, go to her page. However,
if you want something spicy,
if you want an actual, like, trash of a heap person, I'm just kidding. I'm a wonderful person.
False.
I'm funny. I post funny stuff on my story, but yeah, basically, you like boobies.
If you want a little more, you know, risque content.
I don't post, like, muffins. I post buns.
It's tarot time now.
Yes.
Now is tarot time.
Okay. Katie's like, we're gonna record 2 episodes tonight, and we're gonna stay focused. And I'm like, buns. So, we are gonna start with the oracle reading, which is in my hands for the day. And I am going to be reading a card from the Starseed Oracle deck, which Natalie gave me for Christmas one year. Yay!
And the card we picked is Activated Earth. And it, like, plays on powerful places, ley lines, and trust where you're led. And this is the card.
Ooh, that's so
Very pretty. We've got, like, some waterfalls, galaxies. It kind of looks like a rock that looks like a dragon. That's kind of neat. And some sparkles and overgrown leaves, and then, like, the sky and the galaxy. So that's fun. And this card says, ley lines are invisible pathways on the land along which energy travels. They can be sensed when we tune into them with our subtle senses. Also known as spirit paths, they've been compared to the meridian system of the body used in Chinese medicine, and they link sacred sites, stone circles, burial mounds, and places of worship worldwide. In Australian Aboriginal culture, song lines were the paths traveled by the creator beings as they made the land and sea during the dreaming. These paths were recorded in the traditional songs and dances of the people, allowing them to access information about the land's history and to travel safely across great distances. Many believe that as we visit such sacred points on Earth, something is activated within us. Some also believe that by connecting with the land with devotion at these sacred sites, something is activated within the planet too. Are you being called to travel to a sacred place that your soul remembers? Or to tend the land you live on? to honor and acknowledge the known and unknown keepers of nature spirits of that land. As you connect with the earth and honor its keepers, the land opens up more fully to hold you. The fruits provide more nourishment, and the guardians watch over you. So,
okay, wait, that's kind of crazy though, because
you just mentioned
how the Bennington battlefield is like my place. Which is funny because I poured a cold one out at the battlefield. So like nourishing the land and the spirits that live there.
You're awful.
I was like, hey homies, you want a Chili's margarita? Pouring a cold one out for you. No, I gotta... Did I send you the pictures?
I think you sent me some pictures.
There's like a tree that's in the middle of the fucking field.
Yes, you sent me that picture.
And it has a lone picnic table, and that's where we were sitting at. And let me see. Yeah, I'll send it to you. It's kind of spooky.
Spooky.
Like, if you were there at night, it would be really creepy. But, yes. Okay. So.
Yeah, no, that would be creepy at night.
Yeah, it would. Even just
it has, like, no
that.
leaves.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the only one there that has no leaves.
But, yeah. So, the deck that I am using today is the Celtic Tree Oracle by Liz and Colin Murray.
Okay.
I also got this at the Bennington Bookshop. Or bookstore?
Okay.
Bennington Bookstore? Bennington Bookshop. I can never remember.
Whatever one it is.
And... Oh, sorry, that's probably going to be really
You think
loud.
I would know, but I don't shop there.
I wonder if this is local. Let me see. I mean, it's very,
Irish?
Yes. First published in Great Britain in 1988. I thought this was new. Anyways, so...
Casual 40 years old.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, the late 80s did not feel like it was 40 years old, but 40 years ago, but it is. So this deck is super cool because it comes with, a whole, like, information guide about spreads that you can do, and you can write on them and write which
That's
cards
cool.
are there. But then it also comes with this cute little notepad.
Oh!
Can you hear that?
Some ASMR for you all.
Yeah, and it just says, like, you put your name of the person who's asking the questions, name of the reader, date, time, place, questions asked, and then, like, all these other things that the cards would do, and then notes on your interpretation of the cards, which I think that's cool. I have never seen one that comes with its own little book. Usually
it's like your own little sheet.
Yeah, usually people have, like, their own, journals separately. So I thought that was really cute.
I like it.
And, can you hear this?
It's hardcover!
It's hardcover. And this was so cheap, too. It was literally $25. It's so crazy.
Oh,
so
damn,
crazy.
okay.
And it's beautiful. So, the card of the day is More. The sea.
Okay.
So it is the sea. I think More is that Gaelic?
Field or sea, I think, because we covered Culloden Moor, which was like a long, spancing, like, battlefield.
Yeah, I might say it in here, too. So I want to read exactly what this says, because I just think it's so cool, because they have all kinds of history and stuff, too. Manawydon, or Mananan, the god of the sea, owned, according to the legend, a special crane bag formed from the skin of a magic crane, in which he kept all his precious possessions. It was said that at full tide these possessions were visible to the eye. At low tide they disappeared. Now, cranes are sacred birds that substituted for druids. They're revered because their wings made ogam patterns when they flew. Ogam? Ogam? I don't even know what that means. Manawydan's crane bag is thus a druid's bag of secrets, the Celtic equivalent of a Kabbalah, and is a metaphor for the Ogham cipher language itself. What? I don't even know what that is, but that sounds cool.
Yeah, no, that sounds really cool.
The crane cleric, Saint Columba, was so called because of his druidic knowledge and training. St. Patrick was the son of a bard. The Chaldee Church, the earliest British church, using Greek rather than Latin, absorbed many of the previous druidic beliefs. Many Chaldee monks and clergy were the spiritual descendants of druids who had fled from Mona, or Anglesey after the Roman massacre there. Saint Columba, arriving in Iona, was reestablishing a monastic community on an island that had long before sheltered druidic mystics. Drawing this card thus indicates hidden knowledge available when the moon and sea are full. See, these are hidden depths and resources, especially those which you were born, those that you inherited. The sea, water, represents the lunar and the female, and it is a link between your place of birth and the land to which you may have to go on your spiritual passage. It also represents that which is maternal and, of course, travel itself. Relating to the sea and its hidden depths, travel and maternal links. If this card is drawn reversed, it may be that you are traveling in the wrong direction or ignoring the routes from which you came. It is these that should provide resources at a deep level to guide you. And I actually did pull this reversed. So.
Okay.
Apparently we're going in the wrong direction. But I think it's really interesting that it said the lands to which you may have to go on your spiritual passage and your link to where you were born. And we were just talking about the Bennington battlefield. And
True.
That's weird.
They all connect, my friends.
They all do connect.
We're getting better at this.
That one is very hard to read. But if you have the knowledge of all the things that they're talking about, you might like this.
Yeah.
But for
me...
me...
it definitely looks cool.
For me, I'm like, did I show you the card?
No.
It's just like...
Oh, that's cool.
If it would stop being blurry. It's just like the ocean and cranes flying.
Yeah.
And all kinds of symbols. And I'll take a picture of it. So I don't forget.
I already took my picture. No, it doesn't really seem like a beginner or like an intermediate deck. It seems like the more advanced person.
Oh, yeah.
Is its target market.
Yes. And if you're actually interested in, like, the Celtic origins of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have no clue about any of that, and I'm like, sure. But it is a beautiful deck, and if I ever learn more about what they're actually talking about, I think I would learn to love it a lot more.
Yeah. Are you ready?
Yes, I am ready.
Because it's officially time to start talking about the subject of today's episode, Gary Ridgway, also known as the Green River Killer. Gary Leon Ridgway was born in Salt Lake City, Utah on February 18th, 1949, to Mary and Thomas Ridgway. He was the second of 3 sons, which made him the middle child. And his home life wasn't the best. He witnessed quite a few fights between his mother and father. She was said to be very domineering, and these arguments often turned violent, but no matter what, Gary always took his mother's side. So he's a bit of a mama's boy, it seems, from the beginning.
Okay, mama's boy, boo.
His father generally looked down on women, especially sex workers, which would have a huge impact on how Gary viewed women and acted later in life.
So he kills sex workers?
Yes.
I hate this guy already. Fuck him. Sex work is great work, and it should be legal.
You gotta do you.
It should be legal everywhere. There's nothing wrong with it. If that's your decision, that's your decision.
Yeah, live your life, homie. We don't care.
Exactly.
But as a boy, Gary frequently wet the bed. And this went on until around 13 years old. So, like, he was having some issues. But, you know, not only was this embarrassing for him at a young age, most likely leading to harassment from his brothers, but after every bedwetting episode, you know, Gary's mother would wash his genitals.
You know what? I think I've heard this.
Even up to the age of around 13.
Okay, so he's got some weird mom washing shower fetish.
Whether this was, you know, some type of manipulation tactic to shame him for wetting the bed or to take advantage of a young boy, I'm not sure. But either way, it's highly unusual and disturbing.
That is so disturbing.
Unsurprisingly, this led to some psychological confusion where his mother was concerned. Gary admitted to psychologists later on that he couldn't figure out his feelings towards his mother. He had conflicting feelings of rage and sexual attraction, which in and of itself is a serious problem, but mixed in with his jumble of emotions was the never-ending fantasy of killing his mother.
True.
Early on in his teen years, this confusion and synchronization of sexual arousal and the desire to commit violent acts against women, especially his mother, led to an insatiable sex drive. He was obsessed with sex.
Me.
No, he wanted it every minute of every day, no matter where he was or who he was with. His mind revolved around sex.
That's so weird.
Not only did this cause problems at home, but it made it difficult for Gary in school.
So was he always just jacking off?
He was finding some way to release his urges.
He was that guy, that fucking weirdo.
Yeah. So he really struggled with his education and his studies to the point where he was held back 2 grades. He also suffered from dyslexia and was reported to have an IQ in the low 80s, which is quite low. And, you know, Gary was mentally behind.
The low 80s?
Low 80s.
Well, 70 is like mental disability?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't want to say anything that sounds
bad. Neither of us are doctors. We're not in the medical field. But he was very low on the IQ scale. So he was mentally behind those his age, and it showed in his interactions with his peers. He was always the odd one out and never really found anyone to connect with. He didn't have the normal feelings a boy his age should be having, and when you add bullying and segregation from his peers on top of that, a boy with feelings such as his will only act one way: violently. He would act out his fits of rage against animals, trigger warning, skip ahead like 30 seconds if violence against animals triggers you. Sorry, Nat, you don't have that luxury.
No.
But he frequently would torture animals that he found outside, to like squirrels and I'll just say like a raccoon or something like that. But he would torture them, relentlessly, and on one occasion he actually locked a cat in a refrigerator until it died. Which is terrible.
Wait, what?
He locked a cat in a fridge until it, like, froze to death.
Okay,
You're a cat person.
First of all, does he get the death penalty?
I'm not sharing anything.
Okay, well, can we cut it out?
No, you need to be surprised, just like everyone else.
This man deserves to have his dick cut off, his balls cut off, his fucking hands and fingers cut off, knuckle by knuckle, fucking joint by joint. Have his fucking eyeballs ripped out. Fucking torture him, too. If he's gonna torture it, put him in a fucking industrial fucking restaurant freezer. Sorry, I'm pissed.
I mean, I'm not saying I disagree.
I'm pissed and I haven't even heard anything else. He put a cat in a fridge. That's all you need to hear, and you're like, this is the worst fucking person in the entire world.
Yeah, no, it usually starts with the animal abuse and then escalates from there.
Yes,
but
unfortunately.
You see, it didn't take long for those outbursts and rage-filled episodes to take shape. So, at the age of 16, Gary lured a 6-year-old boy into the woods.
Ugh.
He then went on to viciously beat him and even stabbed him in the ribs with a knife. The wound actually cut so deep that it punctured the boy's liver.
Holy fuck! It went, like, straight through his fucking body.
Yes.
Holy fuck.
My guess is that it was some sort of hunting knife because his
like
father, and his brothers went hunting and frequently shot BB guns and things like that. So I assume it was a sizable knife. But this is also a 6-year-old boy, so he might be very thin, so we need to remember that too.
So what the fuck was the father doing when the mom was fucking washing and jerking off her fucking son for humiliation? Because I'm assuming she wasn't just like, gotta wash
hating
your fucking
sex workers.
crotch. He just let her
do it.
No, but
like I mentioned before,
basically molest her son. Because that is not a consenting thing for a 13-year-old. No. A 13-year-old.
And younger.
But even, like, that old? Like, I can understand you bringing your, like, 6-year-old child in to, like, wash themselves off after they had an accident. But not, like...
As a normal parent does.
But not, like, you physically washing them yourself. And they're fucking 13 going through puberty.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
But apparently, like I said before, she was very domineering. So, like, she ruled the roost, okay? So, the dad, like, I don't know if he was, like...
Sadomosexual or something.
Yes, but the violence wasn't apparently just towards Gary. So, apparently, like, his 2 brothers also suffered some sort of, like... I won't say... Well, it's obviously assault, but I would say more like parental abuse, not necessarily to the same level.
Abuse.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
It is. It's very messed up. But this boy that Gary stabbed and actually punctured his liver, he survived.
Oh, work?
So he's a fighter.
A 6-year-old?
However, a 6-year-old.
Holy shit.
However, he didn't really remember anything. Whether it was, like, blood loss or from the beating, maybe he had gotten a concussion.
Or just Gary was psychological.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gary was never identified as the attacker and went uncharged. So how they figured out he was, you know, the culprit in this assault later on, I'm not sure. Maybe it was through, like, some sort of, like... He told them, or it was some sort of hypnotism, or, like, maybe a memory sparked when the kids saw him in the newspaper or something later on. But...
What the fuck?
It's clear to us now that there was some type of undiagnosed psychotic behavior and thoughts happening in his mind. But at this time, it's, the late 60s? So these things, you know, weren't as easily spotted, nor were they spoken about as openly. So we do need to take that into account as well. Like, not everyone had that same understanding of things like we do today. But you see a guy and he's doing shit like this, you're going to be like, he's fucked up.
But also that's so interesting that this is happening in the 60s and 70s, probably.
Yes.
Which is kind
You'll find out more later on.
Which is kind of crazy because that was like the whole free love movement.
Yeah.
And if you had parents during that time, you would think that they would have a more loving household.
You would think, but think about the rest of the time. Like, when did segregation stop?
Yeah, exactly.
And things like that. So you still have, like, you're always like, oh, free love, you know, everything's more open. But at this time, not necessarily. So, by the time 1969 rolled around, Gary graduated high school. So, at this time, he's 20. He graduates at 20. So think back 4 years. That's going to put us at 1965. This is when he had stabbed the 6-year-old boy.
He graduated high school at 20?
Yes, he was held back 2 years.
Okay.
Because he was much slower mentally, like education-wise, than the other kids. But right after graduation, he married his girlfriend named Claudia Craig.
And how old was she, though?
I assume she was 18 or 17. A regular age for that time.
Okay.
But Gary's mother still played a huge part in his life. Because, like, in Gary's mind, his world centered around his mother. And that's when that's, like, unfortunate mix-up happened from, like, all the, like, abuse in his childhood.
I'm getting some real Ed Kemper vibes.
They are very similar.
Yeah.
Very similar.
They have very similar stories.
Yes.
Which
we will cover Ed Kemper, but I'm not going to do it for a while because I don't want you to get him mixed up with the Green River Killer.
Yeah. Well, Ed Kemper certainly had his own way of disposing of bodies. So.
Oh, yes, he did. That's for you can't. Oof. Yeah. Nope.
Anyways.
Ed. So Gary's mother, this lady, would actually be in charge of all of the clothes he bought. And would choose what to dress him in each and every day like some weird little doll.
At the age of 20?
Yes. Yep.
Damn, this is fucked up.
It's really messed up. But not long after Gary got married, he enlisted in the U.S. Navy.
The perfect thing to do for someone who's mentally unstable. Go into the military. Oh, yeah.
But it gets worse. He was sent over to Vietnam.
Oh, even better!
Yes. So he worked on a supply ship and saw violent combat, which I'm sure you can imagine did, very little to help his horrifying thought process, because if any of you have ever read anything on the Viet Cong, you know just how ruthless they were.
It's fucked up. Literally the worst thing ever. And it was not necessary at all for anything that happened in Vietnam.
Welcome to your little dose of U.S. history for the day.
God damn!
While overseas, Gary was very actively having sex with sex workers. So I mentioned before that he has an insatiable sex drive, but I also mentioned his father's less than, human views of women that worked in the sex industry.
And now he's obsessed with them.
Gary wasn't much different. He contracted gonorrhea and continued his sexual habits despite the effects it would have on the other parties involved.
Well, of course, he's an addict.
Exactly. He contracted these STDs more than once and was angry at the sex workers.
Bruh, you are a walking STD. You're just having sex with everyone.
Yes.
It's not their fucking fault.
No, but his twisted thought process only caused his rage and hatred for them to grow, much like his father's. But it didn't stop his behavior.
Didn't he have a girlfriend?
Oh, he has a wife.
And he's just, hell yeah, Cinnamon, anybody, not my wife, hell no.
Pretty much, yeah. But, after he returned home, Gary got a little dose of his own medicine.
Good.
Because after returning home from Vietnam in 1972, his marriage to Claudia ended in less than a year. Because both of them were unfaithful.
Awesome. Honestly, good for her.
Exactly. Claudia had been seeing another man while he was away. But to be fair, she might have married him at the age of 17 or 18, and I'm not condoning cheating in any way, shape, or form, but hey, she was thankfully able to get away from him early on.
Yeah. And plus, when you're that age, don't fucking get married at that age. Like, people in the military are crazy. A lot of people get married just for the benefits. Don't do that. It's so messy to go through a divorce. It's so much more money in the end to go through divorce.
But those benefits, though.
No, don't do it. Be smart. Get a good job with the benefits. You're smarter than that. I'm spitting Mama Nat facts.
Unfortunately, less than a year later, though.
Never mind.
Gary married again.
Of course he did. He just wants that sweet puss.
This time, he married a woman named Marcia Winslow.
Okay.
While married to Marcia, Gary found God. He would read the Bible aloud while at home and at work, and he would go door to door and try to convert people to his religion and ways of life. On top of that, he demanded that Marcia follow strict orders and teachings from their pastor.
I'm sorry.
It said that...
What?
Yeah, he's a godly man now.
Oh, he's so godly. Fucking
yes.
Oh my god. Okay, so right now he's probably already a murderer. You cannot say that he's not.
I cannot say that he's not. I cannot say that he is.
Okay, but at this point he's probably a fucking murderer if he went to Vietnam.
Because who knows what he did over there? Honestly, who knows?
And he has a fucking sex addiction, which is literally one of the big 10 sins or whatever the fuck they say. I'm not religious.
Yes.
What is it? Infidelity? Sodomy?
Yes, something like that. Non-marital intimacy of any kind.
Bro, this dude...
You know, it said that he would actually cry after reading verses or listening to sermons.
Boo-hoo.
But is that because he was actually touched, or was it psychotic behavior of mirroring those around him?
Both.
Exactly. So, despite his new God-loving ways...
I don't think he was
No.
I think he was fucking delusional is what he was.
Yes. Despite his God-loving ways, though, Gary didn't stop seeing sex workers. Nor did it stop him from, reportedly putting Marcia in a chokehold and making her have sex in public or inappropriate places.
What?
Later on, it would be discovered that he actually made her have sex in the areas where his victims' bodies were discovered.
Oh, that just gave me goosebumps.
Yeah, so we feel for Marcia. We really do.
Is it Marcia or Marcia?
Marcia.
Okay. Alright.
In 1975, Gary and Marcia had a son named Matthew, which I assume the name came from his, religious devotion.
I'm cringing so hard right now.
But not for Matthew. It's not his fault.
No.
But, however, the pair would later divorce, thankfully for Marcia and Matthew in 1981.
So does she have custody of Matthew?
In some capacity. I don't know if it was like 50-50, like this is the 80s, so the mom definitely gets more of the time with the son, so maybe he has like visitation rights or something.
Okay.
I couldn't find anything on that. There really wasn't anything on Matthew. I think they buried it for his own sake.
Yeah, he's probably in like witness protection or something.
Yes.
Which I feel for him. Hopefully he's a perfectly normal human.
I feel for both of his first two ex-wives.
Who was the first one? Sorry.
Claudia.
Claudia. Oh, yeah. No, I feel for her.
Yes.
I understand her. I fucking feel for Marcia.
Yes.
Because holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, at least they got away, sort of. You know, Marcia seems to have suffered. Maybe Claudia didn't share much of her story, or maybe she was fortunate enough not to have any of these interactions with him.
Imagine, that's just so fucked up.
According to the two of them, as well as Gary's third ex-wife and former ex-girlfriends, Gary would demand sex from them several times a day. And, you know, of course, no one can fulfill that urge because, holy shit.
Yeah.
So he continued to turn to sex workers, who he later admitted to having some sort of twisted fixation with. Just like his father, Gary would complain about the presence of these women in their neighborhood while in public, but would spend his nights and sometimes his days in their company, taking advantage of their services.
Okay,
His first run-in... Exactly. His first run-in with the law happened in 1980 when he was arrested for reportedly choking a sex worker. Ridgway claimed that she had bit him and he was acting in self-defense. Not uncommon at this time, he was let go because the view of the public and law enforcement had of sex workers was pretty poor.
If somebody bites you, that's more self-defense than somebody choking you?
Exactly.
What the who fucking attacks with a bite? Who fucking attacks with a bite? I'm sorry. Fuck.
Weirdos is who, but...
If you're a sex worker, okay, take everything into consideration. They're a sex worker, so they're like a minority group in the country.
Essentially.
Yeah. And they're
especially
looked down
at this
upon,
time.
But they're also like the most abused group of people in the world. Because they're dehumanized and they're not seen as people. So if they bit someone, that's 100%. I don't even think it is even like 99.99. It's 100% of the time that's self-defense.
I mean, I would agree, but it's the 80s. They're not going to see it that way.
No, it's the misogynistic, patriarchy 80s, basically any time before fucking 2016. Like, holy shit, I'm heated.
Gary's first official crime, though, came in 1982 for soliciting a sex worker. Shocker, right?
Wow.
It's believed that Ridgway's murdering spree began after this minor charge.
Oh, so my record was ruined by a sex worker, so now I'm gonna fucking start killing them.
This would be the start of a 20-year-long run of violent acts against sex workers and runaways that terrorized the areas between Seattle and Tacoma, Washington.
He terrorized the areas.
Yes.
Sorry, I just want to make
him and his behavior.
Yeah, not
is
the
what
sex
terrorized
workers.
the areas.
That's
no, the sex workers were doing their thing.
They are.
If you're the police or any of the general public, you're like, they're terrorizing me. No.
They're not even doing shit.
It was Gary.
They're just trying to live and survive.
Yes. So, what are your thoughts so far?
I feel like my thoughts are very clear. I fucking hate this guy.
Yes, he is definitely an asshole.
Yeah, way more than that. He's actual scum.
He is scum. Society. That's a very good way to put it.
I don't think there's anybody...
No one likes a hypocrite.
There's literally no one who can defend this man.
No.
If somebody toots off their little horn and is like, well, he's a religious man and somebody like that could be redeemed, I will actually shoot you. Sorry. I'm so heated in this episode. This is a two-parter, so I'm gonna be fucking pissed in 2 episodes. I hate this guy. See. He's an incel. He's literally an incel.
I mean, it's one of the situations where I feel bad for the kid, but not the teen or adult, you know, when they start to really show their signs of things. Because what would Gary have turned out like, you know, if he wasn't abused by his mother? Or if he wasn't also then abused and bullied in school? You know, something
Yeah.
like that. How could you turn out different if it was like nurture versus nature type thing, you
definitely,
know?
definitely.
So Gary the kid,
I think if he
Gary,
hadn't been treated the way, yeah, exactly. Big fucking
for those who can't see, we flipped him off, but
yes. No, I can definitely see how he could have been a different person because from what it sounds like, he never experienced any type of like frontal lobe damage
no.
or anything like that. So this is purely psychological from nature or from nurture for lack of nurture. Because of he was humiliated, sexually humiliated, which in every single case of like incredibly sadistic brutal murderers who have not had like frontal lobe trauma, it is because they were sexually humiliated by their family when they were a
or
child.
someone close to them.
Exactly. Like who's that guy? I'll say this one last thing and then we'll continue going on. But there was a guy, I cannot remember his name. Dylan would probably know, you might know. But there was this guy who was forced to masturbate in front of his family as like a punishment. And he ended up starting a cult or something. It was like...
I don't think I've heard of this one.
You probably would if I could find the name.
Okay.
But it was like one of those weird fucking cults that made the videos to get people to join.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember what it's called. I could literally run around the corner and ask
like
Dylan,
back
but
here,
I won't. Yeah,
you know?
I'll look it up. I'll try to figure it out. But yeah, no, they made his family made him like masturbate in front of them as a punishment,
That's awful.
And he ended
terrible.
up being a horrible person. So,
well, that's what psychological trauma does to a kid, you know? He seems like he's someone that really never experienced what actual love is.
you cannot. First of all, don't fucking punish your kids like that. You don't even need to do anything physical to your children to punish them. You don't have to yell at them. You don't have to say shit to them. Like,
a good reprimand and consistent behavior will do the trick.
Exactly. Don't go fucking scrubbing their genitals when they're 13 years old.
Don't do that. It's weird.
It's fucked up.
Don't do it past the age that they can do it themselves.
You are literally liable for what that child turns into.
Yeah.
So, like, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, it only gets worse from here.
People don't fucking think when they have children. They don't think you are liable for the person that they turn out to be. So if they start murdering people, that's your fucking fault and you should be prosecuted too.
Yeah. And she wasn't. So...
Well, she deserves to be fucking brutally murdered too, so...
Jesus.
Sorry. This is making me so heated.
You are very heated right now.
Like, it's not even enjoyable for me. I'm just pissed at this guy.
Are you ready to keep going?
Yeah, let's keep going.
Did you vent a little?
Yeah, I feel
Did you
better.
get some of it out?
Yeah, I feel better.
So, in July of 1982, 16-year-old Wendy Caulfield ran away from her foster home. At some point between that night and a week later, she had run into Gary Ridgway. So, many people who knew Gary described him as friendly, but a little strange. They didn't seem put off by him. He was very good at, like, putting on a mask and hiding his more terrifying side. So he was a good manipulator. And that might have stemmed from him hiding and, like, internalizing the stuff that happened with his mother. You know, unfortunately, Wendy must have fallen for this fake persona. It's said that he would actually use pictures of his son to lure his victims into feeling more at ease around him and convince them to get into his vehicle. And we can only assume that he used this tactic to get a 16-year-old Wendy into his vehicle as well.
How does that even work? Oh, look, I have a child. I'm not going to hurt you.
just like, why would I hurt you?
But
I have a son of my own. I don't know.
He has an IQ of literally 82, so.
But it helped. It worked.
That's so
People
fucking
must have found him
weird.
less threatening because he had a child. Like, if you're
Yeah,
thinking...
but he didn't have the kid with him, though. You said he had a picture.
No. But this is still the 80s. We don't have any, like, stranger danger. No one knows for sure what happened the night that Ridgway committed his first murder, or what Wendy Caulfield suffered that night. But we can imagine it was nothing short of torture. As his first victim, it can be suspected that Ridgway experimented with his urges and that Wendy suffered a great deal. Around a week after running away from her foster home, a group of children found her strangled body floating in the Seattle River. 1 month later, on August 15th, 3 more bodies were found on the banks or within the river. It is at this time that Detective David Reichart arrived on the scene and began his work on the Green River Killer case. The bodies of 31-year-old Marcy Chapman and 17-year-old Cynthia Hines were found next to each other in the shallow water of the banks of the Seattle River. Cynthia was naked and had prominent strangulation marks around her neck. Not far away, buried in the undergrowth, was the body of 16-year-old Opal Mills. It appeared that Ridgway...
Name.
It's a very lovely name, it really is.
That makes me really sad.
It is sad, because it appeared that Ridgway was starting to find his signature by the time he brutalized Opal. When she was found, her legs and arms were covered in bruises, her breasts were exposed, and her blue pants were knotted around her neck, clearly used to choke her. So, the day after these 3 victims were found, the Washington police knew that they had something different on their hands.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that at this time, the Behavioral Analysis Unit, or the BAU, for all my Criminal Minds fans out there, was still in its early years, having only been around since 1972. So the concept of a serial killer was still very new. So, as what we were just talking about, him using his picture to lure his son. Not to use his picture of his son to lure people into the car.
Yeah.
People, when they're thinking of a serial killer at this time, were thinking of, like, this disgusting, like, deformed person, not like a normal-looking man with, like, a family and a child, you know?
Yeah.
The concept of a serial killer was brand new. Like, it wasn't necessarily public knowledge.
Yeah.
He was really the first of his kind, and they know that they're dealing with a whole new beast, so they set up a task force. So the King County Sheriff Department launched the Green River Task Force, which had one goal in mind: stop the murderer who would soon be known as the Green River Killer. However, as the task force was formed and their red string was pulled, the bodies began to pile up. Victim after victim was being found. The police force felt like they were consistently playing catch-up, and Detective Reichart told Time magazine that every time you found a body, it was like being hit on the head with a baseball bat. And that's where I'm gonna stop part 1.
Damn.
And just so you all know, Nat is going to have to wait to find out the rest of the details on this one too, because I still haven't finished my research.
But also, am I really chomping at the bit to hear more of this? I don't know.
But you want to know how it ends for him in the end.
Yeah, I do. I feel bad for all of his victims, though.
Yes, absolutely. So, in part 2, I'm going to, get into the killing spree a bit more, focus on his victims, and unfortunately his methods of killing, and we'll see how far I get in that one. Maybe this will turn into a 3-parter.
I mean, 49 fucking victims at least.
Yes, and most of his victims, I will let you all know now, he committed most likely 40 murders in the span of 2 years. And by the time he was captured, after 20 years or so, because like I just mentioned, the task force was really playing catch up at this point. He did not have a cooling off period. He just kept going. And he was a very effective killer and very good at what he chose to do. He did not leave much behind. So it took a long time for them to get the evidence.
That's what's so crazy to me is that this guy who has
with an IQ of the low 80s is able to do this.
But I mean, it kind of just shows that some people are just made for one thing specifically.
Of course, I'm sure his time in Vietnam did not help his skill set either.
He was fucking trained to be a murderer.
Yeah.
He was literally trained to be a serial killer.
Not good. But in his 20-year active killing period, it is suspected that he killed upwards of 71 women. 49 are confirmed, but yeah, that's where I'm gonna stop today.
Oh my god.
So what do you think, Nat? What are your whole thoughts so far? Wrap it up into like a couple of good sentences here and there.
I am incredibly disturbed, angry, and completely sympathetic to the victims already, and I know nothing about most of them.
No, we've heard about 4, which in and of itself is way too many.
And I truly, truly hope that this I won't even say monster, exactly, gets the punishment that he deserves.
I'll get there.
Also, any of you fucking people listening to this, don't fucking Google this. Wait until the next episode comes out, because you want to think of, just think about it. Listen to the episode twice.
Digest.
Yeah, digest
what you just heard. And if you have heard about this before, don't go spoiling it for everybody else.
Exactly. Because, I have kind of maybe heard of this. The name sounds familiar, and the, washing stuff sounds familiar, but I don't really know about the story.
There is a lot of crossover with, his child life and, mental abuse when it comes to a domineering mother that crosses over with Edmund Kemper.
Yeah.
But Gary Ridgway is considered the most prolific serial killer in the United States and even possibly the world.
That's crazy.
Ted Bundy actually looked up to this man as far as a goal
you
goes.
all already know my thoughts on Ted Bundy, so
yeah.
I'm pretty sure I knocked him down a couple pegs the last time we talked about him, so he was
Natalie stomped on his grave.
Is he really dead? Did he die? How did he die?
He had the death penalty. I'm pretty sure he got lethal injection.
Good.
But
sorry, I have a deep-seated hatred for serial killers. I don't think most people talk about them like this. I think I just have a
they probably don't.
Deep-seated hatred for them. Because they take away innocent people's lives for their own sick pleasures.
I think it's fair.
Yeah,
they do.
It's actually disturbing that a parent or community can allow a person to become like this. You had so many chances to help a person going through the situation, and the world failed them.
Yeah, pretty much. And then you're left with this.
Just destruction.
This. Yeah.
An extremely volatile human being. It's so disturbing. They are also my most favorite stories to listen to, though.
Just from a psychological aspect of just how did we end up here?
There's so many
no
things.
Idolization in any way, shape, or form. Do not get that twisted.
Oh, fuck that. Have you heard what I've been saying this entire time?
I feel like we just need to make it very clear.
If anyone thinks that I'm fucking idolizing any of these people, they're actually crazy and they need to not.
Yes.
They just need to leave me alone, because
I feel for the FBI agent that's checking my search history, because I promise I'm not doing anything weird we just have a podcast to
They
raise
probably
awareness
know
of
that.
the violence that's committed.
It's actually insane.
Spread the word, let people know.
The thing that makes me most upset is that I know a lot of serial killers target sex workers.
Yes.
That's what makes me the most upset. And I wish that I had kind of known what this was about beforehand, because then I could have looked up, like, resources for sex workers and stuff like that, and violence. Because I know that they post stuff in airports and stuff about, like, human trafficking and stuff like that.
Yes. We will put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
And for this one. And then for part 2, we will put a disclosure right at the very beginning of the episode.
Yeah, because I think that's important. Because it's a really big focal point of this person.
It really is.
So.
Who he targets, what he does.
And yeah, that's terrifying for them.
It is terrifying.
And then you think of, like, Jack the Ripper and shit like that. It's been happening forever.
It's just a repeating cycle. It really is.
It's because people just dehumanize sex workers. I'm going to go into a rant, so we need to finish.
If you have made it this far and are hooked on hearing the rest of the messed up story of Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer, and the most important people in this story, his victims, or if you're liking the podcast overall, you've listened to the other episodes, you're digging it so far, make sure to leave us a review and come chat with us about it on our Discord server.
Yes, before you give us a bad review, come take a peek in the Discord server, talk to us, tell us about things that you think that we should change and improve on before giving us a bad rating. And
yes,
tell us how we can get that 5-star rating, because we really want to earn it. We want to have a high-quality podcast.
Yes, we do. And we want high-quality everything. So you can find even more true crime and spooky content by following us on social media as well. You can find us on Instagram at
Wading into the Void,
where we go live every other Tuesday for Terror, Tea, and Tarot, where we spill all the beans and discuss micro stories.
Yay!
If you're into something, a little shorter, you can find us on Twitter at
Wade into the Void.
Or you can find us on TikTok with all the cool kids at
Wading into the Void.
And, if you have a weird, spooky, or scary story, why the hell don't you send it to us? Shoot it over to our email.
wadingintothevoid@gmail.com. We want to hear from you.
Yes, just title it Listener Stories and then like a generalized subject line of what the hell you're telling us.
Mama.
Yes, or
like Nuke.
The man who was the axe murderer on my street or something like that,
The man
whatever.
who shit on my front yard for 10 years and I never knew.
Yeah.
Oh.
And, until next time, Phantom Fam, I'm gonna keep it simple.
Okay. Don't
be Gary Ridgway.
Okay.
Bye! We needed to lighten it up. Bye, everyone.